Good evening, everyone. Dr. Stacy here. Welcome back to our Tuesday night podcast. I am so excited for you to join me and my guest tonight, who is back again and ready to share so much more information with you guys tonight in our Thriving After 65 series. So, before I get started and share his bio, I do want you to know that I am not a medical doctor. I'm not your medical doctor. And the information that's being shared tonight from LifeWave is for informational purposes only. I'm not making any claims to treat or cure, and neither is Dr. Harmon. He is not your medical doctor either. And so, if you have any questions in regards to your health, medications, if you're pregnant, nursing, or under 18, please check with your healthcare practitioner. They'll be able to guide you in your health journey. So, with that, let me read his bio very quickly here so I can get him on to share more information with you. So, Dr. John Harmon is married to Carla Harmon, and I'm not going to say she's the better half, but she sure is a lot of fun with you guys when we travel around the world together with LifeWave. So, he is a father of 8 children of his own, 2 stepchildren, grandfather of 26 children. He has a Bachelor of Science degree in human biology, University of Utah from 1983 through 1986. He graduated summa cum laude with a Doctor of Chiropractic degree from the Los Angeles College of Chiropractic in 1989. He is board certified in neurofeedback and quantitative EEG. He speaks German. Well, that'll come in handy this summer with David's appearance in Germany. Author of the book How to Reverse Age, a comprehensive guide to peptides. If you have not seen that book yet, it's a must. I'll put the links in the chat, and I'm sure he probably has a QR code that's going to pop up probably on a screen or something too. And then the other one, How to Reverse Aging, the Power of Epitalon, Unleashing the Secrets of Longevity and the Fountain of Youth. Again, incredible read for sure if you want to know about copper peptides and about our own body's ability for reverse aging. He's the host of the Root Cause Holistic Health podcast. He is the founder and former president of Clear Mind, Idaho. He played the drums in a 70s rock band. I do remember that LifeWave party we had where you came dressed up just like that. And most importantly, he is the marbles champion of his elementary school. So, Dr. Harmon, if you can come on here for me and let's talk about thriving after 65. First of all, as a practitioner in the holistic health field, why did you even take a look at LifeWave? What made you say, yes, this is something intriguing I'm interested in? Of course, we want to hear about how you've used this in your own personal health journey. Why did you decide to utilize this within your practice and also go on to be where you are now in your career?
Thank you, Stacy. It's always good to see you and connect, whether it's on one of those world trips or one of the other conferences. Dr. Stacy had me with Hello back then, and we've been friends ever since. And it's great to get to know even her family as well. The whole family is a bunch of superstars. So yeah, why was I open to even looking at this technology and how did I even kind of stumble on it? And in order to understand that, you'd have to have a little bit of the backstory that set me up to being open to looking at a plan B. And many healthcare providers don't really know how vulnerable they are to, not being able to work anymore. You think everything's going to go great and you're going to retire and or sell your practice and then live happily ever after. And that was my thought as well. But when I found out about these patches, I had just less than 2.5 years prior, I had just gone through a serious bone infection that I got from a root canal. Imagine going to the dentist. He says, "Hey, we got to put a dental dam in." I said, I get all claustrophobic. Oh, and we'll put you under conscious sedation. And then you wake up and the dentist says, "That was so bad, I had to do a root canal." And the fact that I didn't burn his building down showed me that I still had a little self-regulation left even while I was on those drugs. So I went from My wife and I were getting up at 3:50 in the morning. We were getting to the gym by 4:20. I mean, we were just really precise every day. We were working out. That was back in 2017. And then I went from that to after, it was about 3 weeks, I think, after the dentist appointment, this right wrist started puffing up like a football and hurting. I mean, it was really quite severe. And I don't see the other pictures. Let me see. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
It looks like the one that I had. I'll get him up. Hold on. Got to go back to my.
How to reverse aging with GHK and the reverse aging power of Epitalon. See those back there in your library. I put both links in the chat, you guys. If you haven't seen them yet, the links to both books are there available in the chat.
Here they are. That one's got to open. And then here it is. So I went from that. I'm working out, and they misdiagnosed me at the hospital as well. And that, can you see that one with the stitches?
Yeah.
Okay. I went in and I think it really pissed off the medical doctor when I told him I have an infection. You need to do an MRI and a joint aspiration. He said, "Well, we took your blood. We don't have any. There's no markers of inflammation or infection. We think you have gout." And I went back and forth for a week as the bacteria basically ate away the cartilage in between my carpal bones. And so I was faced with a decision. That is this the end of my story, or do I get to write a couple more chapters? So it was at that time I reinvented myself and I decided while I was home for 2.5 months with a PICC line, getting 60 cc's of antibiotics every day, I was going to study. So I started studying functional neurology and QEEG and all of those things. And then I started ClearMind Idaho. So when, and then I had neck fusion surgery in 2019. And then in March of 2020, my friend said, "What do you know about stem cells?" And I said, "Funny you should ask. I feel like crap. I'm not doing well. My body's beaten up. I'm not, I don't have very much vitality." And so I started using the patches mostly for myself. If this is true, what you're telling me, this friend of mine, then I really need some of that. So I started using them, and then being the curious person that I am, I wanted to know how they work. And so I kind of started a little bit digging into the research. And then I found out they were really good for brains. And so I incorporated them into my protocols in my new place called ClearMind Idaho. That's what motivated me to be open to looking at a plan B because my plan A already went away once. And so thought, you know what, I'm going to get ready in case something else happens. So I recommend to anybody, whether you're a healthcare provider or if you're looking at what's happening. I heard some staggering stats a couple of weeks ago about AI, and AI is going to be as smart as humans by 2027. And they're talking over the next few years after that, up to 50% of the jobs are going to go away. And people say, "Well, Dr. Harmon, I have Social Security." I said, Social Security is based on payroll taxes. If half of the jobs go away, that might not be your best bet either. So it's a good thing to look at something else that you can be passionate about. And maybe this is it. Take a look at it that way. So I started in March of 2020. And really quickly, I introduced it to some of my other doctor friends, some of my friends, former patients, introduced it in my practice, and it started to grow pretty fast. And it's been a really fun ride since then. It's developed, my team developed so much that I thought, you know what? I've been doing two jobs for 6 years. And I found a buyer for my practice. And September 1st, as of September 1st, I no longer have a practice. I just do this now, which is great because I walk the 20 steps to my home office studio and I can work from the beach. I can work from my house. I can work for wherever I am. There's just not stressful at all. And I so appreciate that. But the really, really great things that I mean, I'm just so grateful for the health, the vitality, the vigor that I still have at almost 72 in July is, and I look at other people and there's kind of this thing as you get older and things just get slower and I can't make my lunch because I don't have enough energy. And I didn't want that to be my life. And that's another reason why I was really open to looking at these things. So when I first started, and this is really an important thing to know, I did not know that I had a right bundle branch block in my heart. I knew that there was something, there were warning signs. Two times when I was sitting writing chart notes in my office, everything went black. I didn't fall, I didn't pass out. It just went black. It might have been a transient ischemic attack. I don't know what it was because it didn't happen again. So you know how men do. I should be good. Everything's good. So I didn't get anything checked, but I knew that when I would bend over and then come back up, it was kind of like POTS, but different. But I would just kind of get a little woozy, and I didn't know what that was. But I had a knee replacement surgery coming up 4.5 months after I started using the patches. And if you saw a picture of my knee, you would know why. It was an old ski injury. And the doctor, after the surgeon said, I've never seen anything like your knee. It was like a polished knob. So I had this surgery coming up, and the heart palpitations, the PVCs, which are preventricular contractions, and it just kind of your heart stops for a second and then starts back up, and it's just random, and they don't do anything for it. It's just a random thing. But it was really weird because after I started using the patches, they got really regular. Every fifth beat, it would stop for a second and then start, and then fifth beat, fifth beat. I lie in bed and I monitor my pulse and I say to my wife, man, it's every fifth beat. It's the weirdest thing. And I told my doctor about it. He said, you know what? We should order a stress echo. I said, all right. So I went and had that stress echocardiogram done. That is when I found out I had a right bundle branch block in my heart. So if you think about that, I didn't know I had it when I started using the patches. So fast forward a year and a half from that, that same doc ordered another one. It comes back, right bundle branch block no longer present. So had I not had the first stress echo, I would never have known I had it. If I didn't have the second one, I would never have known that it went away. Yet here I am without it now. And I'll say one more thing about right bundle branch block. If you go to PubMed and you type in right bundle branch block, guess what you're going to find? All cause mortality goes up if you have a right bundle branch block. So I don't have that anymore. And the hill that my wife and I walk up on our walk, there's some hills behind our neighborhood, and it used to feel like my heart was going to pound out of my chest when I would get to the top, and my recovery time was really long. And I know what the really long recovery time is because I used to be a distance runner. Now it's just back to normal and I can run up that hill. So huge, huge benefit to me, my wife, my kids, my grandkids. some of the other things that have happened to me, I don't even know where my glasses are. I haven't worn glasses for 5 years. I used to have bifocals and distance. I don't wear glasses at all anymore. My brother's an optometrist, and back in Virginia, and I was talking to him on the phone, and family members are some of the funnest people to try to talk to about the patches, what I would say. And I was telling him about all these changes in my eyes, and he says, "Well, your pupils must be small." That was his response, rather than, I got all this benefit from the X39. Whatever. Okay, Mike. So those are some of the big changes. Oh yeah, my hair. I have to show you. I have a picture right here. This is me about a year before I started using the patches. And then it started to change. It was really weird.
Let's go back to your skin. You have
Okay.
hair, but look at your skin. Sorry, no offense, but look at
Oh yeah. Yeah,
that.
you're right. You're right. Yeah, there have been some changes there. And then my hair at about 4.5 months started changing back to brown from back to front. And my friend told me, "Do you realize your hair?" I got to get this out of the way. Your hair's turning back to brown? And I said, "No, it's not." So I bent forward and took a picture of my hair. And here it is, Dr. Brandon. This was about, oh, I don't know, about a year later. It had some pretty good changes in it, which I didn't even notice at first. And so skin, you think about your skin and your hair, and what are the things people look at when we're engaging with people? It's our interface with the world. And as people really notice skin changes, that's why there are billions of dollars spent on those things, skin and hair. And if you follow in the book that I wrote, there's a whole chapter on skin and hair. There are 3 chapters on brain. There's so much information about the benefit of the GHK copper peptide for the brain that I had to break it up into 3 chapters. So this is why I offered them or I had them as part of my protocols. And so if you think about, first of all, it's the GHK copper peptide that transports copper through the blood-brain barrier to get it up to where it's needed to make kind of important things: neurons, synapses, neurotransmitters, and a substance called BDNF. That's the stuff your brain makes when you're doing new tasks. It starts the whole process of neuroplasticity, BDNF, but you have to have copper in order to make all of those substances. So that's the importance of the GHK. But when you look at things like autism, cognitive decline, Alzheimer's disease, if you can maintain the neurons, the synapses, those are the connections in your brain, then you'll be able to remember who you are when you're older and not go into that decline. Not a claim made by LifeWave, but the literature in the research shows how beneficial it is for restoring, repairing, and regenerating neurons and those connections so that your brain can fire normally. And there was a study done that, you've probably seen, a 6-week study where they had huge changes in a measurement called coherence. And that's just measuring how much cross-connected your brain lobes are. The right and the left brain do different things, and they have to say, "Hey, this is what I see. What do you see?" "Well, this is what I see. What do you see?" And they talk back and forth. If you can't do that, you're either going to have more autistic tendencies, and that's when it's all jammed up. If you can't do it very well at all, that's cognitive decline. So all of those measurements improved on the study that was done using the X39 and then measuring the brains with what I certified in, and that's QEEG. So that was my story, how I got started, and some of the things that I've seen along the way. Since I didn't have any huge changes right off, it was really meaningful to me when I saw some of my friends talk to me about the changes that they had. And just a few weeks in, this nurse, Deb Struck, and she said, anybody can call me. Um, I gave her 5 samples. That's what I did back then. And then she called me and said, I had to retire from nursing because I have a MS. And after 5 days, I was walking without my walker and doing wall squats. And I said, Deb, you're telling me about a dream you had. That didn't actually happen. Said, no, it happened. And then this couple came in and they were bringing the wife in for anxiety. And that's one of the things we treated in Clear Mind. And I noticed he was just walking around just like an old man. He's just shuffling and kind of wincing in pain. And I said, Scott, what's going on with you? And he said, man, I was diagnosed with ALS type symptoms. They don't know what I have. I'm taking $1,100 worth of prescription drugs a month. I take 8 oxycodone a day. I can't work. I can't play with my kids. So again, I gave him more. I just gave him some samples. I gave him 10 samples. And I said, try these. I didn't even know. This is when I first started. 10 days later, he was able to run in our parking lot. He's called me twice. This was like 5 years ago. He's called me twice to thank me. And you can see his video. It was Scott Allen. He's on one of the videos on the Evolve team. And he just checks in. I'm taking no drugs. I'm full-time employed. I play with my kids. He knows how many endorphins I get from hearing that. So he calls me every once in a while. So I want you to look at some things that I've discovered or a way I've been able to formulate it to help people understand what's going on when you wear the patch. And in order to do that, I want to ask you a question. Does anybody know what the 2 reasons are that people go to the doctor? There's only 2. You either think or know you have something and you're going to get it checked out, or you're going for your annual physical. You don't go to the doctor and say, I want to get a CAT scan of my abdomen and an MRI of my brain. And that's not how it works. You go in for your physical. They do the basics, the blood test, the blood pressure. You're good. See you next year. 3 days later, somebody dies from something they didn't even know they have. That's what took out my brother-in-law 15 years ago. He was getting ready to go work out, which he did 4 or 5 times a week. Died of a dissecting aortic aneurysm that he didn't know he had. And so when you start using these patches, we think that it's wise to do a non-double blind, non-randomized, non-placebo controlled study of one. I'm going to test them on me to see how I do. And if they work for me in 4 days, 5 days, 10 days, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is, then I'll believe that they work. Had I given up after I found out I had the right bundle branch block and said, why didn't it cure me already? After all, it's been 4.5 months. I wouldn't have had the effects that I had. I wouldn't have had the benefits. So when you go about rebuilding and repairing with your own stem cells, regenerative cells, we don't always feel what's happening because our internal organs have no sensory nerves. They don't have to communicate with the outside because they're inside of our bony skeleton. And so many times we don't know something's going on in our internal organs until they're pushing on something like our muscles or our bones. And many times I had people come into my practice, they didn't know that their gallbladder had enlarged 18 times the size of normal and was pushing it into their low back. They didn't know that it was their gallbladder. They thought they had sprained their back. So you can't always know what's going on in your internal organs. What if you could, over time, without your knowledge, repair and regenerate. The X39 does one thing. It elevates the GHK copper peptide. Well, what does that do? That's why I wrote the book, so you'd understand what it does. So it does all those things. The GHK copper peptide does that. X39 elevates, does one thing, turns on that. So what is that? It reminds your body of all the things it's supposed to be doing that maybe it forgot, but only better. Because when we're young and we have all those stem cells, a lot of them are devoted to growth. They're building structure and you're getting bigger. When you're my age, I was 66 when I started using these. My stem cells were, a lot of them were probably zombie cells by then. That's what they call them when they're not doing anything, but I'm still a cell. Feed me. I'm not going to do anything for you. But so when you have people also ask, I've heard they'll say, I heard you can drill into your hip bone and pull out some of your bone marrow and spin it down and get stem cells. Yeah, if you want old stem cells. Old my stem cells were old. So when you can actually signal your body to make more, it's much better because they're brand new. So I want you to remember when you're going on this journey to put things in perspective that a lot of the changes that are going on, you won't even be aware of. Sometimes they're on the outside and you aren't aware of them any either. And then somebody says, "Well, what about your skin?" Like Stacy did. What about your skin? I'm talking about my hair. And she goes, "Well, what about your skin?" But spouses do that too. We used to have people come in, like the wife's coming in for anxiety. No, the husband, this one, and anger and things like that. And we're treating his brain. And he said, "Well, I haven't noticed anything." And the wife looks at him like, "You're a lot nicer now." It took somebody else telling him that he was nicer before he knew that he was nicer. And sometimes that's true on our appearance. We look at ourselves in the mirror every day and we don't realize we're changing. And then somebody says, "Wow, what have you been doing?" Unless you take pictures. So always take pictures.
Always, always. So, Dr. Harmon, I have a question for you before we wrap up tonight because the
Okay.
information you've shared tonight, the chat's just gone crazy with all the information you've shared. So, what advice would you have for someone who's been using the patches but feels stuck with an issue that they have?
Very good question. And I see that on Facebook, and I don't want to jump in on, and get involved in conversations. But first of all, if you have an issue that nothing's been able to help, for example, a skin issue, a hormone issue, or whatever issue it is, unless you've had a mold test, a parasite test, or a chronic virus test, you have not been complete yet. Mold can cause men to have ED. Mold can cause other hormone dysregulation. Parasites poop ammonia. Ammonia damages the microcirculation in your hands and feet, and you could have neuropathy from parasites. And the thing about parasites and mold is they cause these issues like skin issues. And the doctor says, "Well, yeah, you got eczema. Let me give you a steroid cream so we can drive it back into you." Instead of looking at what could have caused that. Well, parasites can do that. Mold can do that. Candida, that's the other thing. If you haven't been tested for mold, candida, fungus, mold, that category, chronic viruses, chronic Lyme, you really can't say that the patches haven't done anything yet. I've had people who did not know they had a chronic systemic candida infection because they had so many antibiotics when they were young for sinus problems and had mold in their sinuses. Guess what he had? Erectile dysfunction. caused by the mold. Women can have, I mean, that I'm just talking about men, but you can have all kinds of issues. But here's the problem. Mold, fungus, bacteria, viruses, parasites, they form together and they hide in what's called biofilm. And a lot of times herbs and vitamins and things cannot get past to try to kill those things. They can't get past the biofilm. And sometimes, and I've been one to try to keep people off of drugs, stop taking, don't take drugs. But I've seen some real miracles in people's lives. I don't prescribe them, but I have docs who do those testing to see what markers, what genetic markers people have from parasites, from viruses, from mold, find out what's in there. And sometimes it takes something stronger, like a whole bunch of, I hate to say it, but drugs, they're temporarily to try to get those things. And if you've been someone, and I don't do this, has nothing to do with anything that I do, but what I've seen, if you have been trying, herbs and all kinds of tinctures and things like that, and nothing seems to work, you might step back and say, hey, maybe I have a lot of biofilm in me and everything's hiding and nothing can get at it. And sometimes it takes something a little stronger to do that. And then now you have a fighting chance that something's not getting sabotaged all the time, chronically. It the person I'm mentioning right now had a chronic uh, mold infection inside of the tissues and the sinuses, was draining down the back of the throat, and he was inhaling it. So it looked like he always had lung infection and had to clear his throat, and they were blaming it on reflux, but it was this infection that was just all day long. And then as he was sleeping, breathing it, and then he would breathe it in, and until he got rid of that mold infection, nothing else was working. So that probably surprised a lot of people that a chiropractor is recommending drugs, but sometimes in really tough cases, some people need that and they have their purpose. Like ivermectin, ivermectin's a drug, but look how beneficial that is. Sometimes it takes that to get rid of those parasites, and fenbendazole
Yep.
if you got deep parasites. So look at that before you give up. And also, if somebody says I haven't seen any benefits, I say, well, what are you measuring? Well, I was just going by how I feel. Well, do you have any objective measurements? Like I had my biological age done a couple of months ago and it said 58. And I'm going, yeah, yes, that's objective. Those are from your markers in your blood. Do you have something like that? I don't have a test that I recommend. There are a lot of different companies, but get some objective findings so that you can measure what's going on with you, because it's not always good to just go by how you feel. Like my brother-in-law, he's working out every day almost, dies of an aortic aneurysm. Heck, we don't want that.
No. Dr. Harmon, I totally agree with you. I tell people all the time, you've got to get to what's going on at the root of your issue. Is it
Yes.
the fillings? Is it root canals? Is it
Yes.
complications? Is it mold? Is it a fungus? Is it Lyme? Is it something that you're just not, maybe you're not aware of? So if your
Yes.
regular doctor isn't open to testing or seeing these things in you, you've got to go find someone that's, yeah, functional medicine, integrative medicine. There are MDs that are functional and integrative that
Yes.
will do this, so they can order blood work. They can write scripts for different medicines. I know a lot of people that have been through that. Mold is very common, Lyme is very common. And it's just, we have to get to the root of these issues. If they're, like you said, we're using the patches, maybe we see some results, but we don't see what we're looking for. I always tell people these patches are absolutely life changing, but they are not
Yes.
the end all be all, fix all, cure all, do it all, every single thing. They are a massive tool in your toolbox.
Well,
Just
here's an example, Stacy. We say that GHK elevates your immune system. What if your immune system's only working at 20% and it doubles it?
yeah.
Now you're at 40%. Because you have a chronic Lyme infection or chronic mold or chronic candida, if you've had antibiotics very much in your life, you have candida.
Yeah.
You just do. That's what takes over when all of the good guys are wiped out. And then you start craving sugar and wonder why, because the candida is saying, "Feed me sugar." And they're sending out messages for you to eat sugar.
Yes, they are. And that's a cycle. So we have to be our own best advocate for what we
Hmm.
need to do. And there's some people like for you, for example, with your heart, you had changes. You didn't even know you had that, but over time, you're wow, there that goes. Okay, fantastic. So for you, that was able to resolve itself through patching over, I think you said a year and a half time frame. But for it's not everybody's story that way. And so we have to be persistent and consistent with our own being our own advocate for our own health and getting the help we need. And I will say this too, because I come across this a lot in talking with people every day, that the money is an issue. When you look at the testing, those types of doctors, a lot of times
Yeah.
not taking the insurance that people have. And so it's an out of pocket expense that's one that some just can't afford, unfortunately.
Yeah. And
Well,
that
you
is,
can share LifeWave patches and make an income to pay for that.
there you go. There you go.
I love it. Well, Dr. Harmon, thank you so much for being on here this evening. I
My pleasure.
pouring into our community as always, as you always have. And again, the links to those books are in the chat. You can go to Amazon, type them in, Dr. John Jon Harmon, and definitely get them. They have been a wealth of information to be able to help me on my journey in deepening my understanding of what the, let's just say, X39 and Alavita do.
Yeah, let's just say that. If somebody wants an autograph copy, could I share a QR
Yes,
code?
yes, 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 yes.
Okay. That would be right there. Let me go up here. This slide presentation that I have. So this is for how to reverse aging. This goes to my former what happened?
We see it.
I wanted this one. My former staff still works for me part-time. There we go. So if you scan that, this goes to my staff, and then we send you an autographed copy.
Wonderful.
This is for the how to reverse aging. And then you can watch the replay if you miss it here. But then this one is for the reverse aging power of epitalin. Let's just say Alavida. Epitalin is the synthetic form. Epithalamin is the form that our own pineal gland makes. But the research was done on the synthetic form. That's why I say epitalin instead of epithalamin. So you can watch the replay and get those if you want.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing those autograph copies. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, thank you again, Dr. Harmon, for being here and sharing your wisdom and your expertise in this area of thriving after 65 and your personal experiences as well too. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure.
Awesome.
And just say when you get to be 70 and you don't take any prescription drugs and you can still work out for 2 hours, that's a good thing.
That's a really good thing. Really good thing. Wonderful. Well, thank you all for being here. If you have any other questions, please get back with the person that invited you. They're going to be able to answer any questions, give you some more information. Of course, this recording will be available very shortly on YouTube, and I'll be sharing it with Dr. Harmon as well so he can share it on his platforms. And if you are interested in these patches and you are a guest, get with the person that invited you. They can talk to you about how you can get wholesale pricing so you can take advantage of this for your long-term lifespan, right? Yes. So thank you guys. Thank you, Dr. Harmon. Everyone have a
Thanks so much.
fantastic evening.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.